I suppose you could say my life is pretty ordinary. Of course, I have goals and dreams. My goals I work hard for, but I don't have time for dreams. But somehow, they always find time for me. Sometimes, they seem to take over my world. Being a hardworking college student makes it easy to focus on what I am and not what I could be. But then today happened, and it taught me something. It was nothing academic. Instead, I realized that sometimes the only thing keeping me from my dreams is simply me. Now, I have to say that the events leading up to this discovery were no less than traumatizing. It all began the day I first laid eyes on her. An angel. While I knew nothing about her, I felt a deep inner connection to her, like I had just been handed my life's mission. When I saw her, my mind ran wild. It was almost as if we belonged to each other, like it was meant to be. Fate was about to intervene in my life. Well, something was. At this point, there was two things I knew for sure. Someday, a man would date that beautiful creature. And I was not that man. All I had wanted to do was to get her attention. But now that I had it, all I wanted to do was run away and hide. Pure mental anguish. I needed a place of refuge where I could collect my thoughts. This wasn't the first time I relied on my studies to occupy me in times of trouble. Books were my escape from life. But just when I thought things were looking up, it got worse. There, standing before me, was Zeke. He was captain of the football team, and all the girls' favorite hobby. Even though he acted like he ruled the world, he just ruled these halls. Well, socially anyways. Although he had amazing football skills, his academic resume was like most of his homework. Blank. I was determined to ignore his presence. As hard as I tried to stick with this idea, it didn't last too long. I got that dreaded feeling that something wasn't quite right. Well, that's what I wanted to do. But again, my dreams failed me. I tried the more civilized approach. That didn't work. So, my book had been taken. I was sinking to an all-time low. I didn't know what hurt worse, the bruise to my ego or the pain in my heart. All I wanted was relief from my agony. Even the simplest things began to frustrate me beyond my comprehension. It was at that moment that I went from being at the point of despair to a point of hope. I cannot begin to explain the feeling that flooded my soul when I turned around and saw the caring face of my roommate. I had gone from utter embarrassment to humiliation to mental frustration. As I explained my ordeal to Ethan, I couldn't help but pour my heart out to him. Ethan reassured me that everything would be fine, and it wasn't my job to worry about uncontrollable things. That, and that alone, allowed me to sleep that night. I wish I could say what took place over the next couple of weeks was a smashing success from my point of view. But as it is, Zeke and I don't share the same point of view. One time in particular in the Commons, there she was. Perfection. Honestly, I was almost ready to speak to her on my own. But Zeke was in the process of destroying my dreams. First my book, now my girl. There they were at the vending machines. She asked for a Snickers, but he insisted she try a Starburst. Of course, he bought her the Starburst without any thought of her wishes. This situation had potential to be a turning point for me. I made my move. Zeke was going on and on about one of his famous football games, and no doubt exaggeration was exploding from the dark chambers of his underdeveloped brain. Just because there was a goalie didn't mean I couldn't score. My execution was perfect, and I made my love smile. Okay, so maybe I wasn't ready to talk to her. I couldn't go on like this anymore. My mind had been racing all day, and I couldn't focus on anything except her. All I had was her yearbook picture. Her lovely smiling face and perfect teeth. Ethan was my motivation. I guess I would have to say he pushed me to achieve my goals and alter the path of my destiny. Sometimes it was hard to refuse. And then the day came when I found myself at the rock wall. How appropriate. At this stage of my struggle, looking back, I can almost laugh at the irony. I was almost ready to take the challenge and not the least bit nervous. As I began my climb, all my problems and fears seemed to melt away with every crevice and breath. What if I could truly conquer my fears, just like I was conquering this wall of rock? As I came out of my dream and realized I was holding up the line, I also realized I needed to conquer my fears. I had to tell Ethan. But then, there she was. I knew this was it. Destiny was calling. It was time. I had made my decision. I must act on it now or never. Nothing was going to stop me. I wasn't going to let her get away. If I didn't do this now, I would never be able to act. Every bit of fear in me was crushed by my will and need to succeed. I was done with being a dreamer. I called her name. I couldn't believe it. It worked. I had rehearsed this moment so many times, but I didn't know what to do next. When I somehow managed to ask her to dinner, she just smiled and gave me her phone number. Never did an assortment of numbers look so beautiful. I could hardly believe I had done it, and she actually said yes. Because I conquered my fears, a dream finally came true. So here I am, on the road to pursuing my dreams. I didn't realize the potential I possessed. It took an encouraging roommate and many sleepless nights to understand. Maybe my life isn't so ordinary after all.